How did I forget this? Did you ever watch Triple X with Vin Diesel?
Yes.
Those are good.
I also watched the Ice Cube sequel.
Yes. Did you see the third one, the Return of Xander Cage?
Yes.
Enjoyed that one. It had Ruby Rose. My quintessential ones, although I do like the story behind them, so it might be a little condescending on this one, but not condescending, but contradictive. John Wick. You want to talk about this shit? People dying.
How did I not have that on my list? Absolutely.
John Wick is just over a puppy.
I watched that on an airplane.
There was just enough story to justify 100 and some odd killings.
I downloaded a few movies on my tablet just to watch in the airport and on the plane, and I watched the first three John Wick movies on that vacation.
Oh, okay.
And then when I got home, I watched the fourth one.
Okay.
So yeah, those are just quintessential,
they're just fun.
long, drawn out action sequences that are just so well choreographed. I'm sure they're CGI assisted, but you can't tell.
Yep.
You can tell that it's not possible for certain sequences to have actually been filmed. So there's some trickery there, but those are good. There's just an excuse to hang violence on.
Oh, 100%. The gunplay is just so much fun in those films. Again, not realistic.
Everybody backstabs everybody.
Yeah, it's fun sequences with those movies, though. Extraction, we talked about that. We did a couple
of those Extraction movies, and I'd say that's a rare instance where the sequel, in my opinion, is better than the original. You can watch our breakdowns on this channel.
I would agree. Yep.
No, those movies are great. I wish they had wide theatrical releases. It's kind of disappointing they're only on streaming, because if they made an Extraction 3, I'd go to the theater for that.
Oh,
just for the
easily
big screen and the sound. I mean, I have a good setup in my house, but it's not a movie theater.
It's not a theater. And the sound that comes with a theater. I mean, there's just some movies that have to be enjoyed that way. I think those are hands down an example of that. Top Gun.
Didn't really care for the original Top Gun movie all that much.
Okay.
It kind of didn't age well in a few places, and Tom Cruise has never really been my favorite, but I really enjoyed the second one. Even though it's totally unrealistic, he would have died.
Oh yeah.
You know, that crash in the beginning of the movie that should have been the end of the movie, he would have got liquefied.
Just done.
But the whole sequence, the spoilers if you haven't seen it, but he gets shot down, that whole behind enemy lines thing where they steal the jet to fly home. That's good stuff. And it's unapologetically good guy, bad guy.
Yes.
There's so many movies, and I like the idea of a villain having motivation that you can relate to the bad guy. But sometimes you just need the villain to be the villain. The American military is the good guy. Whatever random country we're fighting is the bad guy. Just leave it at that. They don't even tell you who the enemy is. They're just the enemy.
Yep.
It's great.
No, I agree with that. And I think we get that a lot in a lot of the military ones. Here's a throwback one in the nostalgia vault for me. Lost in Space. The 90s one.
Really?
Yeah.
That would not have come up on my list. Really?
I haven't seen that in probably 10 years. But the story is whatever, in my opinion. But when you get the actor, I forget his name, he played Joey Tribbiani. When he has this hallway scene, as these little spider bugs are coming towards him, and he was this military guy, and he's shooting with his laser handgun or whatever, and then he finally says, "Fuck this." He takes this case out from his belt and he puts it down, and all of a sudden that turns into a shotgun, and then this metal face thing comes over, and he's like, "You're done now." And whap, whap, whap. I was like, I knew right then and there, I was like, I want to be him. That's cool, guys. He looks good, he flies, he shoots, he's got a crush on a pretty girl. I was like, that did it for me right there.
I tried to watch the Netflix TV series. I
couldn't get behind it.
Yeah, I made it through the first season. I tried to watch the second season and just stopped.
Yep, I couldn't do it.
I didn't stop watching it on purpose. I just realized I wasn't watching it anymore.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Nope, no, absolutely. It became less and less important as you were watching things. I couldn't get behind it.
Going back to the Fast and Furious movies, one of the directors in some of the middle ones was a guy named Justin Lin.
Yep.
He actually directed Star Trek Beyond.
Oh, okay.
So
I did enjoy that one.
I like the shoot 'em up in space movies, whether it's Star Trek or Star Wars or Starship Troopers. Any movie where you're in space and you're blowing up other spaceships, I'm all there.
Yep, I would agree. I get really annoyed when it comes to space action movies because people get really hypercritical of them. And it's like, they need to understand it's science fiction. It's there to entertain. And then you see things exploding and people are like, well, there wouldn't be actual explosions in space. There's no oxygen for there to be fire. Shut up and let me blow shit up, please.
Let alone the sound.
Let alone the sound, right. We get it. That's not what we're watching it for. We're watching it because we want to see cool shit blow up.
One of the coolest things in the prequels is in episode 2 where they have that sonic explosion thing where all the sound cuts out for a second. Just bang. So you're experiencing that in the theater for the first time, like 2002 or whatever year that came out. That just blew me away. I was, that's so fucking cool. That's why movie theaters are. I hope movie theaters don't die out. After COVID, people stopped going to movies. Movie theaters, you need to see some things in the.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That sound has become so iconic as one of the most satisfying science fiction sounds that people will listen to. Yeah. I was playing Helldivers with the guys the other night, and we were like, we need something where they have that noise happen, because I would use all of my experience just to get it. I wouldn't even care.
They have a few things out where those aging action stars are doing shit again, like Sylvester Stallone in Tulsa King.
Yep.
That's really good. If you haven't seen that,
I gotta pick that one up.
It's not super action oriented. Of course, there's action, there's violence, but it's more of a drama. But it's really good. Stallone is so believable as this old mafia guy, just recently released from prison. Part was probably, I say it's tailor made for him, but probably actually was.
Right.
He's so good in that.
That's one of the ones I think I will enjoy, because from what you've told me about it, and then from my love with Peaky Blinders, it seems like it's this weird merriment of the two, modern day, not British, to your points. I really need to start watching that one.
Any flammable liquids or firearms?
In the box? Nah.
And they had one with Arnold Schwarzenegger called Fubar, where he's a spy and he finds out his daughter is also a spy in the same agency, and neither one of them know about it until they're on a mission together.
Fucking funny.
So they're in this. It's sort of an action comedy, but it's just old Arnold still has it.
I've learned a ton from working with my dad. How he leads the team, how to slit a man's throat vertically so he bleeds out faster.
They got more issues than Sports Illustrated.
Yep.
You know, he's in his 70s now, I think, and he's still able to pull it off.
What about there was another one that had Bruce Willis. Was it Red?
Yeah,
that was a fun one.
All the retired spies.
Yep.
That's a good.
He kind of named words. The live action G.I. Joe movies too. He made an appearance in that one as a retired army spy, shoot 'em up person.
There's another show called Old Man, which is really good. I forget the name of the actor who's in it. I'll put it up on the screen, but he was the dude in Big Lebowski.
Oh, okay.
But he plays an old retired spy who gets thrown into the shit again, and even though he's an old fart, he's still really good at killing people.
Any more you send at me, I'm sending back in bags. Anyone you send at my kid, send him back in pieces.
Speaking of old farts doing their thing, I'm gonna forget his name now, but Ghost Rider, the first one, not
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, well, Nicolas Cage, but Sam Elliott. He was the retired Ghost Rider, the one that came before Nick Cage's. I enjoyed that movie. The CGI was shit, but that was just a fun movie.
Sam Elliott is one of those actors that would be a multi-gazillionaire if people still watched Westerns.
Yes. I'm kind of waiting for it to come full circle again. And it's this, I honestly feel like Westerns will either make a really strong comeback or they're going to be gone for forever. Because you look at the success of things like Yellowstone, and I know that's not like proper Western movies. Neo-Western. And so I kind of want that to come back. I don't know if it ever will, though.
Yeah, there's some good Westerns. Of course, Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. That's fantastic. And the old Clint Eastwood movies, they kind of blur together in my head, where he's got a cigar in the corner of his mouth and he's shooting people.
Yep.
He's barely a character. He just shoots people.
Yep.
It's good stuff.
The first real time I think I was ever exposed to Clint Eastwood where I watched one of his movies was Gran Turismo. Gran Torino, not Turismo. Yeah. That's the game.
Yeah, where he has the M1 Garand rifle.
Yep.
And again, you mentioned going out in a blaze of glory. His solution to the problem is once he realizes that he's got some sickness, he's coughing up blood throughout the course of the movie. The solution to the problem is the gang guy who's messing with his neighbors that he likes. He sets up a situation where he gets murdered so that the guy who murders him goes to jail.
Yep.
And that's the solution to the problem. He doesn't kill the bad guy. He lets the bad guy kill him so that the bad guy goes to jail for it.
Which is just...
That's just gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
If you want to go retro and talk about Clint Eastwood, the Dirty Harry movies. They're barely movies. They just exist for Clint Eastwood to shoot people with his .44 Magnum.
I mean,
they hang a little bit of a story on it. The first one had like the most story. It's about a serial killer who's terrorizing San Francisco, and there's a little bit of drama with that. But yeah, the sequels are basically they come up with situations for Clint Eastwood to be there with his gun.
You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I forgot myself in all this excitement. You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Gotcha.
There's 5 movies of that.
You're thinking, did he fire 173 times or 174?
Here's an interesting piece of trivia. The last Dirty Harry movie was called Dirty Harry, the Deadpool.
Oh.
And the Deadpool comic took the name from that.
Really?
There was a killer who was murdering people to win the Deadpool, where you would place bets on which celebrity's going to die. So this guy made it happen.
No kidding.
So that's where the Deadpool comic book character, they ripped off the name from the Clint Eastwood movie.
Did you, I'm gonna add on to the Deadpool fun trivia. Did you know that before Ryan Reynolds was introduced to the character, someone had shown him the comics, and he just happened to be flipping through this issue, and there was one where the comic book writers actually had Deadpool reference something to the degree of saying, like, I look like Ryan Reynolds with a fucked up toupee or something like that. Like, Deadpool was referencing Ryan Reynolds before Ryan Reynolds was Deadpool.
That's pretty amazing.
And the guys were like, if they ever do a faithful adaptation, this has to be you. It has to be just, this is
like
yours.
An extra fourth wall break.
Yeah.
That's super meta.
Like, the fourth wall guy, it was super cool. I'm going to get so much hate for this one, and I only watch it maybe once a year because it's just that fucking bad. Van Helsing.
Never saw it.
Oh, with Hugh Jackman? Oh, it's actually
I avoid it because it's vampire.
Yeah,
I don't do vampire stuff, although I have been more recently. But
that's fair. That was just a fun one. Yeah, that was good. Underworld's in that same with the vampires.
We mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger earlier, so there's a couple different categories in my mind of Arnold movies. There's the Terminator movies, which are basically their own category.
Yep.
I'd say Terminator 1 and 2 are really the only 2 worth watching. The rest of them are just crap.
Good.
But if you watch like the director's extended cut with the original ending built into it, have you ever seen that?
Mm.
There's a version of Terminator 2 where they flash forward 50 years and the war never happened. And all the narration you hear is actually Sarah Connor talking into a recorder.
Oh.
In the future when the war never happened.
August 29th, 1997 came and went. Nothing much happened. John fights the war differently than it was foretold. Here, on the battlefield of the Senate, his weapons are common sense and hope.
Tie me, Grandma, tie me.
So I never really got into the Terminator movies. Really? I think the first time that I really watched it was the one that had Christian Bale. Came out.
Not a good place to start.
That was like, I had seen the other ones, but I didn't really get into it until that Terminator, Salvation. And then I just kind of like died out from it again. I said,
And that goes to the Gen X versus Millennial. I saw Terminator 2 in the theater.
Oh, okay.
And it blew me away.
Fair. I mean, they were good movies. That was the one with the liquid guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good robot.
Yeah. A bad robot.
It was a bad.
Not in a J.J. Abrams kind of way.
He was a good bad robot.
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor and stopped making movies. And then afterwards, he made a few. I think really the best post-governor Schwarzenegger movie was something, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. The Last Stand.
Okay.
He plays a small-town sheriff near the Mexican border where this drug dealer guy is going to go through town. And he basically, it's kind of a Western style.
I know what's coming. I'm not gonna let that guy come through our town without a fight.
Johnny Knoxville's in the movie.
Okay.
And Johnny Knoxville runs a gun museum It's like a loophole in the law where if he has a museum, he can own all these crazy guns. So his museum is open like once every other Thursday for a half hour. So it's technically a museum. But he has all these kinds of guns. He has all the legal permits for them and everything. So Schwarzenegger goes to this guy to arm. Johnny Knoxville's great in that movie, but it's basically The Last Stand. It's a standoff. Like bad guys come into town. They have the shootout in the middle of the city.
Who the hell are you?
I'm the sheriff.
Wow, you're looking jacked. You've been working out?
Lesser known, but I think great Arnold movie. And in my opinion, it's the last really good Arnold movie. Going back old school, I love the first 3 Die Hard movies.
Those are good. Yep, I can respect those.
Don't like the 4th and 5th one really at all. They get Die Hard, one of the best movies ever made.
Yep.
Die Hard 2, it's fine. Die Hard 3 is fantastic. It's not as good as the first one, but what I respect about Die Hard 3 is it's not just a copycat of the original movie. It's the same characters, but a completely different setting, a completely different scenario.
Fair.
But you just see that character in a ridiculous situation.
Okay.
And then 4 and 5, they just turn him into a superhero, and it's just lame.
It's,
PG-13.
Oh, we can't do PG-13 anymore, guys.
That's a way to ruin an action franchise. Take an R-rated movie and give you a PG-13 version of it. That's why Expendables 3 wasn't as good.
Yep, I was going to say, we were just talking about this, but isn't that the one where they brought Chuck Norris in?
I don't remember. The movies really just blur together in my head.
That's how bad the story is.
They actually had Chuck Norris telling Chuck Norris jokes in that.
Yes, they did, and it was kind of great. You can't have him show up and not make Chuck Norris jokes when there's an entire culture around Chuck Norris jokes.
You told me that you're not really a fan of spy movies.
By and large, I'm not.
I'm a huge fan of the James Bond franchise.
Okay.
So they're probably one of my biggest go-to, just watching dudes be heroic in a ridiculous way, completely unrealistic way.
Okay.
They're just fun. They're the villains are usually kind of a little bit one-dimensional. But they're fine. You like James Bond because he's sophisticated. He looks good in a suit. He has one-liners. He's just a fun guy to root for.
For sure. Let me ask you this, and I have done this with my wife. And being that you like the spy-ish movies, or you like spy movies, this movie I'm going to mention is a spy-ish.
Okay.
Do you and your wife ever do rom-coms together?
Sometimes.
Does she like those kind of movies?
Yeah, like I think we met on a dating website, and I had The Wedding Singer listed as one of the movies I liked, and I think that's the reason she contacted me on the dating website. She actually contacted me on the dating website.
I recommend. This is one of my favorite date night movies.
Okay.
If you have not seen This Means War, check it out. It's got this weird blend of rom-com comedy / like a little bit of mushy gushy with a decent amount of action that's built into it. And it's got a great cast. It's got Chris Pine, it's got Reese Witherspoon, it's got Tom Hardy. It's actually one of my favorite movies in that category.
Well, as a Star Trek fan, I'll watch a Chris Pine movie.
See, there you go. Give it a shot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of other movies out there. We could probably sit here all day and just list movies at each other.
Keep going down the rabbit hole.
But, there's nothing wrong with just putting on something because you enjoy it, even if it's not technically a good movie.
Correct.
If you like it, it's a good movie for you.
Unless it's Dragged Across Concrete. That's a good movie for no one.
See, you mentioned that to me, and I looked it up. It has a decent Rotten Tomatoes score.
That's the problem. It's scored great. The reviews are great. Everyone's like, it's a cult classic. Movie fucking sucked, man.
I was thinking about checking it out, but I noticed that it's 3 hours long, and
it's so long.
I don't want to sit through a 3-hour movie, especially if you tell me how much it sucks.
It's so
watch. I'm gonna love it.
Honestly, I'm worried that you're gonna love it because then I'm gonna have to go back to Sexy Spence, co-host from my other channel, and be like, dude, we were wrong. And I'm not ready. I don't know that I'm ready to eat that bullet yet. So take your time on watching it. I'll just keep trash talking.
I think I have to watch it now.
It's got Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn.
See, what I don't understand is how I don't know about this movie. I don't even know it. If it wasn't for you guys talking about it, I wouldn't even know it was a thing.
I think it was indie produced, so I don't think it ever went to theaters. I don't think it went straight to whatever BS streaming service it's on. I don't know. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in to a couple of jackasses talking about their Dude's Day type movies. And honestly, make sure you check out this guy's book, Becoming Quincy, Judas Kiss, some great stories that happen within those books.
People get shot in the books.
People do
too.
get shot. Little bit of pew pew. Technology, sci-fi stuff going on. Check them out. They're awesome books. But until next time, guys, cheers. Thanks for stopping by.